Still got a full house going and we're getting more corporate reactions coming in. Rana Kapoor of Yes Bank joins in a bit. Chanda Kochar of ICICI Bank will join in to talk about her reaction to the budget. Mr. Kapoor, good afternoon. Thank you for joining in. The general consensus, even though it may be not articulated as such, is that it's not been a great showing, a disappointing showing for the budget. How would you rate it and what was the standout feature for you?
I think we really need to understand that, the economic backdrop and the coalition compulsions were not most encouraging. At the same time, there are some fairly prudent steps that have been taken towards fiscal consolidation, which is a signal that Reserve Bank of India has been awaiting prior to taking, monetary relief actions. I think the single biggest game changer in this budget is really what has been done for the infrastructure sector. I think the doubling of infrastructure tax-free bonds to 60,000 crores from 30,000 crores and across a cross-section, including 5,000 crores for SMEs through SIDBI. I think these 8,800 kilometers of new roads, the tremendous pain points that were there in the power sector are being identified and given relief, including ECB funding. I think the lifeline of $1 billion ECB for the airline sector is definitely a step in the right direction. A final decision on FDI in airlines would have been very helpful. I think viability gap funding for telecom towers as well as for the oil and gas sector is also a step in the right direction. And this has been the looming large risk for the banking sector in terms of the infrastructure, bottlenecks, contractual frameworks being weak. If these come together, apart from de-risking, there will be newer opportunities and far greater viability and credit strength on existing projects as well.
Absolutely.
So I think
Mr.
it's
Kapoor,
good for banking in many respects.
Fair point. I mean, a little bit of sorts definitely given to infrastructure. Mr. Kapoor, Chanda Kochar also joins us. Chanda, before I come to those infrastructure questions, what have you made of the fiscal deficit number, the market borrowing number? 5.69 lakh crore is bigger than the biggest estimates that we had got. Are you suspecting that raising wholesale money is going to be expensive? Where are you pitching the 10-year bond for at least the first half?
Well, first of all, if we talk of the fiscal deficit number, I think the budget has been a very pragmatic budget. I would say, taking into account the economic and the political considerations, I think we are talking of 5.1% as fiscal deficit. Well, it's high, but I think it's pragmatic, it's believable, it's credible. So I think in that sense, there is that amount of credibility to this number. The second big important point is that, he's talked about capping the, the subsidies to 2% of GDP. Well, we have to really watch how this is going to be done, but I think as an intent and as a direction, it's a big direction and a big positive direction. Yes, as I mentioned, the fiscal deficit number is a little bit on a higher side, but more credible. The borrowings number is, of course, much higher than what the markets expected. You've seen the reaction on the bond market, and I think, that's how the yields are going to be for some time. But clearly, the direction of 2% cap of subsidies on GDP, I think, is a very positive direction.
Chanda, afternoon. Just one key question, because the bigger problem for the market, or the bigger question on the market's mind, was what would the RBI hear in the budget speech today in order to take that decision on rate cuts, and how soon could they move? Would you say, from what you've heard today, both in terms of the target and how to achieve it, or let me actually just hold on to that question, because the finance minister is speaking right now, or he will in a second or so, and we will go across. We're expecting him to be speaking to CNBC TV 18, Siddharth Zarabi, first interview post his budget. Chanda, just to finish that up, do you think the RBI has heard enough to move on rates, and how soon do you think they could be able to move, given the content of the budget?
No, I think RBI to move on rates has to, one, look at, of course, the fiscal consolidation, but also on the other hand to look at inflation. And I don't really see inflation coming down very quickly. So, in fact, in my view, I'm not really very hopeful that April RBI would be able to take any step on the interest rate, because, we have still got to watch the oil prices. I think a little bit of this increase in excise duty, etc., if at all, is going to add a little bit to inflation. So I think, in my view, it's not as if a movement to reduction in interest rate has been made faster at all.
All right. Anil Singhvi also joins us, and a couple of corporate honchos will also be with us in a minute. Mr. Singhvi, what have you made of the budget? You know, there is a little bit of giveaways for personal income tax at a particular level. Would that be something that would boost consumption, or will all that be taken away by the higher taxes, you know, excise duties across the board and service taxes across the board?
What has been given, Lata, is 2,000 rupees, and if you believe 2,000 rupees in a year is a huge money which you can really convert into consumption, then I leave it to your judgment. But according to me, it will going to be spent the very same day when it is given. Having said this, I think this is a very highly inflationary budget for two reasons. One is that I don't think the fiscal deficit will remain at 5.1%. It's a very honorable situation, but I don't think it will be done. And secondly, if you look at the government borrowing program, which is net borrowing of 4,80,000 crore, is going to be a major issue.
Fair point. Mr. Kapoor, I wanted to come to you on those, Chanda, you spoke about the infrastructure. Chanda, about those infrastructure sector, well, not SOPs, but some kind of help given, they can use ECBs for working capital. Some of the investments will have lower withholding tax. Will that give any relief at all? Will foreign banks bite?
So I think, first of all, these are good measures, because it's not just, ECBs for working capital. It is on the power and other infrastructure sectors. It's ECBs for refinancing rupee debt. I think that's a huge step which can actually bring down cost of funds for these projects. Then there is increase in the limit for infrastructure bonds. And so that is again, a way of raising lower cost money. And I think for some of these projects which are through a large part of their implementation risks, the foreign investors could bite. So in my view, this is a very important step. The second important step, which is really not related to infrastructure, but if you really look at subsidies, I think he dwells a little bit in getting into details about how he's focusing on making the money reach the end customer directly. He spoke about some of the pilots that are being done where subsidies are being made to reach directly, and how the efforts of UID would be combined along with that. I think that if really work is done in that direction, that can bring about a lot of efficiency in the economy and save a lot of wasteful expenditure that kind of gets wasted along the way.
Sure.
So I think we should watch two of these things which can contribute to a lot of efficiency.
Okay, let me just get a reaction from one sector that has been impacted, which is autos. Pavan Goenka of M&M joins in. Pavan, afternoon, half and half. Excise duties are up for larger vehicles. It's gone up from 22 to 24%, but that dreaded specific tax on diesel vehicles hasn't come through. What kind of impact do you expect to see, either in terms of whether demand will get crimped, and can you move a bit on prices to give you some elbow room?
Well, first of all, the industry is truly relieved that the diesel tax did not happen. The industry had worked hard to convince the ministry that it's not desirable and not justifiable. So we're very happy with that. The increase in excise duty was more or less along the expected lines. The 2% increase, though nobody likes it, but I think it's necessary evil right now, as the finance minister himself has said that he had to be cruel to be kind. So that we have to live with, and we will have to pass it on. And there is no way for us to absorb that. And we'll soon be announcing today itself the increase in prices, which is direct pass on of the excise duty increase. We expect for Mahindra range of vehicles the price increase to be as low as 3,000 rupees to as high as about 35,000 rupees, which will be effect of both the 2% increase in SENVAT rate as well as converting the 15,000 rupees extra fixed excise to a 3% ad valorem duty. So that will be about 35,000 rupees increase. It will have an immediate effect, I think, on demand, but I hope that with time it will sort of wear off.
Mr. Kapoor, same question to you as a banker that I was asking Chanda. Given what you heard in the budget, how would you map out the monetary policy trajectory from here? Has enough been said and detailed in order to cut rates come April? And will that be an aggressive rate cutting cycle? Actually, before I get that answer, let me just hear it from the man himself, the finance minister. I believe he's now talking to our correspondent, Siddharth Zarabi.
Presenting the budget. Thank you very much, Mr. Finance Minister, for coming in and speaking about the budgets so soon after it was presented in Parliament. Clearly, the big question first at this stage, Pranabda, is the overall climate that we have seen in the past few days, the difficult circumstances that you have faced both on the economy side domestically and internationally, as well as the political climate that has soured over the past few weeks and days, must have made your task very difficult, sir.
You know, the latest political development, of course, is it has happened so suddenly and so nearer. By that time the entire exercise was over. But the other issue which you have raised, that is important, that the overall global situation and domestic situation are not very conducive. On three major areas which I had to take into account while formulating my budget proposals: how to bring back the economy on higher growth trajectory, primary consideration was there. Second was how to ensure that the near double-digit inflation which doggedly pursued, rather obstinately pursued Indian economy for almost 2 years, headline inflation, how to moderate it. And third, the fiscal consolidation, which I believe absolutely imperative to ensure higher growth and also to ensure that growth becomes inclusive. We cannot allow in fiscal profligacy. Therefore, these are the three major constraints which we had to keep in mind while formulating the budget proposals. It was a difficult task, and my entire exercise, if you look into it, you will find that I have given clear indications how I am going to come back to the path of higher growth trajectory, how to make the fiscal consolidation, and at the same time how to address the problems, particularly from the supply side constraints, by removing those constraints either by higher allocations or by having focused attention. So that is the environment, overall environment in which we had to formulate, because I had at the back of my mind that Eurozone crisis, there is no solution visible in near future. Recovery of USA has begun, but still it is halting and fragile. Same is the story with Japan. Therefore, one of the important aspects which I have also emphasized was to be the domestic demand-driven growth strategy. How to enhance the purchasing power of the rural population, which will generate adequate demand, which will act as a driver for the growth.
Pranab, let's come to the point of fiscal consolidation. Clearly, last year's fiscal projections that you had made were based on certain assumptions, of which oil was certainly not in your control at all. That really took away some sheen of the fiscal deficit numbers. You have now projected a 5.1% fiscal deficit for the next fiscal year, assuming a certain level of oil prices around $115 per barrel. Current prices, Pranabda, even today, the number that has come in is at $124 billion. So my question to you, sir, is that is there a downside risk from crude oil supplies as far as the basic fiscal projection and maths of the central government is concerned?
No. So far the budgetary exercise is concerned, I have not addressed one of the major areas which is causing substantial erosion of resources by enhancing the subsidy. Therefore, the resources which could have been deployed in other areas are to be diverted there. It happened last year because my assumption was it will be $90 per barrel. But now I am pretty sure that it is not going to be less than $115 per barrel. But the strategy which I am working on the one hand I am working on the additional resource mobilization. Second aspect on which I have emphasized on the expenditure control, I have bound myself by bringing it down to the level of the 2% of GDP, which is the current level of subsidies, and to bring it down to 1.75% of the GDP in the next 3 years, and also to have a 3-year fiscal target, the fiscal statement which I am committed to present to Parliament, where there will be 3 years rolling target which will provide us an opportunity to make an correction in the mid-course as and when needed. But at the same time, these issues are to be addressed, which I could not address. These issues cannot be left uncovered.
On the subsidy control side, you have clearly made a very marked departure by saying that certain kinds of subsidies will remain capped in some ways. At least that is the sense that we got from your speech, sir. Beyond that, you've also spoken about additional resource mobilization. Again, on the oil subsidy front, do you anticipate a major problem? Because in the current year, you saw an increase in terms of the oil subsidy go up by 45,000 crore.
Yeah.
What is the scenario likely to be, sir?
No, we shall have to address these issues. Collectively, we shall have to address these issues. And because budgetary exercise is not the only way we can address it, but we shall have to address these issues. When, how, of course that is a matter to be decided. But one point I am also going to address to the political establishment of the country, because collectively we shall have to think of it. It is not the question of this party or that party. Because if it had its partisan impact on the economy, it is going to affect all. Therefore, at some point of time, we shall have to recognize this fact. And continuous efforts are needed. What type of action, what type of roadmap I am thinking, I am just not spelling it out, but shortly we shall have to do that.
Okay, I probably take that as a hint to some of the suggestions from the economic survey on petrol and diesel coming in, but I won't press you on that question. Let's come to the additional resource mobilization, sir. Clearly the budget has taken a very brave step by more or less returning to pre-2008 levels, both on excise, going with a hike in service tax, also a significant increase in certain items on customs duties. Your net tax mop-up after everything else, including the 4,500 crore on direct taxes that you are giving away through the substantial giveaways for salaried income taxpayers, is 41,000 crore, sir. Is this enough? Was there scope? Did you consider going a bit more, or would that have...
I could have gone easily to 14%, because that was the pre-crisis rate. And you have noticed, since I assumed this office in 2009 at a very critical juncture of our economy, international economy, in the context of international financial crisis, I have not only provided a stimulus package, but I have also brought down the taxes, and I allowed to have this reduced excise duty for almost 3 years, 2009, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12.
So the stimulus took quite significant time to unwind, and what you are also saying, sir, which is very
important. And that I have not done fully, because it was 14%. Absolutely. I have pegged it up at 12%. So far service taxes are concerned, as I mentioned, that now 18 years we have, this is the 18th year we are having the service taxes. 1992 the constitution was amended. It is contributing substantially to the GDP. So there should be some correlation, and it should get reflected. That's why administratively we have decided to have a negative list and some exemptions. Rest of the items will be brought. Third objective which I had before me, that one day we shall have to convert in GST. Therefore the rate should be aligned. Excise duty, service tax, keeping in view, that's why I have kept in view the areas where these states would like to impose the taxes while choosing the negative list and exempted category list. I had to keep all these factors in mind, because this is not 1 year strategy. This has the future plan of converging into GST, having the almost common code. I am going to set up a committee to have the excise duty and service tax, how we can bring it closer. So keeping that, the taxation policy, because these are the two major taxation reforms. One is direct tax code, another is the GST. Direct tax code, now I have received the report. I will have the opportunity of examining it and introducing it. But GST, that's why I sought the support of everybody. Progress is there, some work is being done, but much more area is to be covered.
Pranabda, you have gone out of your way to involve the states as far as the GST exercise is concerned. The instrumentality of the empowered committee is something where a BJP senior politician is heading that. At this stage, you just mentioned 1 day. What do you think that one day could be for the advent of the regime? Because you have also today promised that the IT network, the crucial platform, will come in place by August this year.
Yeah, and that is the convergence point between the states and the center.
Right.
They are also using this GST network. Therefore, we will have, and they are fully convinced that there is a need. Even for the model legislation, we are working in close cooperation. Certain areas there are divergence of the views, certain areas convergence of the views are coming, but you shall have to recognize the fact that constitution amendment without the support of all parties, particularly the principal opposition party and some other parties, is not possible. It requires not only two-third majority in both the houses, but also the ratification by half of the states and major states. If they don't ratify, it would not be possible. Therefore, keeping that in view, we shall have to work for convergent approach and build up consensus. However painstaking it may be, there is no other. That's why I am not putting any time frame. This is a constant exercise we shall have to carry on.
Okay, that's the Finance Minister explaining some of the contours of what the budget had. You will hear much more. For now, let's take a quick break. We haven't done that. When we come back, full house. Rana Kapoor has been speaking with us, so has Pawan Goenka. Kaushik Chatterjee of Tata Steel joins in, and we've been chatting with Anil Singhvi as well. We'll come back with much more analysis of the budget, in reaction to which the market is now flat.
Welcome back to this budget special. Market is as flat can be. In fact, a little in the red at this point in time. So given up that meager gains that had probably eked out, no surprises, but no major shocks either. Or so it seems. We've been speaking to a lot of corporate honchos. Rana Kapoor is with us, Pawan Goenka, Anil Singhvi, and Kaushik Chatterjee from Tata Steel also joins us. Kaushik, what have you made of the budget? Your own stock is a little in the green, probably because you're getting a little bit of support in terms of higher customs duty on some steel products. But how are you looking at it otherwise as a macro player?
Well, I think, Lata, the political overhang is very visible in the budget. It's almost like balancing the books rather than making it as an economic statement for the future. So the last few days, at least, the expectations were much lower. And as the FM said, it was already signed and sealed by that time. I think the key issue is the fiscal deficit number. We're missing targets, and though we are putting 5.1 for next year, the how of achieving that is still quite open. You're talking about disinvestments of 30,000 crores with the current market volatility and the underlying economy. That to get realized is going to be quite a challenge. The subsidy capping as a statement of intent is very welcome. Again, the political determination to make it happen is untested. So as far as the tweaks which are usual in budget, 2% up and 1% down, these are more for the shorter term. But directionally, it's as we are. You can call it status quo. We call it directional towards the same intent. But there's no major surprises, and therefore it's a little lacking any spice, to be honest.
Fair point. In fact, let me get to Mr. Kapoor. Mr. Kapoor, do you really expect the Reserve Bank will have any leeway to cut rates? Because, we just heard Mr. Goenka saying that they are going to increase the prices, pass on the higher duties. If this is the anecdotal evidence and the way crude is shaping up, irrespective of the credibility of the fiscal deficit numbers, will Reserve Bank really cut rates? In which case, I guess costs are going to remain high on the interest rate front.
But my sense is that the finance minister has been very realistic about identifying a 5.1 target. It's not 4.5 or 4.75. It's 5.1, which makes it fairly realistic. I think there are enough revenue measures accompanied by curtailment of expenditure steps which are being taken. At the same time, on the infrastructure side, several of the supply side constraints are being addressed.
But
So
why
my
would
sense
RBI
is that
cut rates for
these
all
are
that, Mr. Kapoor? I mean, my point
yeah,
is...
but these are like, but two big signals, on fiscal consolidation, as well as on the supply side factors being addressed. And I think RBI has been looking at those signals through the budget, which has been somewhat protracted. I think it's come out fairly loud and clear in the message today from the FM that there will be no further fiscal compromise, and supply side issues through investment, particularly in infrastructure, is going to be emphasized. So I think RBI's interpretation of these steps, and both short and medium, should result in at least some rethinking on what should be the repo policy rate regime going forward. So I do expect some form of reversal taking place in the April credit policy.
Okay, Mr. Kapoor, we'll leave it at that. Thanks for joining in today. Just want to pick up a couple of other specific stocks. You saw a reaction on ONGC. I want to pull up Sun Pharma for you. That stock is now down nearly 7%. There is a little bit of ambiguity on that front because the finance minister said today that they propose to introduce MAT on all persons other than companies, and for some of these companies like Sun Pharma, they work on a partnership setup. So the fear is that perhaps there is a big raise in terms of rates, MAT rates, that some of these companies may have to face. Sun Pharma now up about 7.5%. Pawan, you were indicating that volumes may likely get hit in the months to come. There hasn't been that much either in terms of rural focus. Would you say that M&M is bracing for a little bit of a come down, both in terms of the volumes that you see on your SUV side and what happens with the tractor category?
Well, on the rural side, there was no sort of major announcement, but there were a lot of positive things that the finance minister said. He did talk about focus on productivity, focus on transportation of produce, on warehousing, storage, and also on micro irrigation, and there are subsidies that have been increased in all of these areas to some extent, 10%, 15%, 20%. There is a substantial increase in credit to agriculture by 1 lakh crore. And also incentive to pay back on time by reducing interest rate. So I think these are all positive signs. So I wouldn't say that there was not much that happened on the rural side. In fact, on the rural road infrastructure, there's an increase to about 25,000 crore in expenditure, which always speaks well for Mahindra specifically because of our rural penetration. So I would think that for us, for Mahindra, on the rural side, the budget would be neutral to positive. Not hugely positive, but certainly not negative.
Okay, Pawan, we'll leave it there. Appreciate you joining in today. M&M has come out relatively unscathed. Anil has some interesting insight on cement, but before I get to that, Mr. Tulsian, the big fall today is on ONGC and CARE, and that has come as a clear negative.